This has Rockets fans very concerned after the way the team played in last night's contest against the Golden State Warriors in round one of the NBA playoffs. The offense went silent, and unfortunately, every sign points to this being a continuing factor into the rest of this series. Welcome into Rockets Digest. I'm Jace Andrews, and I appreciate you joining us here. Make sure you hit that subscribe button if you're new. We're covering the NBA playoffs, obviously, as the Rockets go through it, and we'll have coverage of the offseason as well. So if you want all the news right at your fingertips, we have it for you right here. Go down there and hit that red subscribe button. All right, let's talk about it. This game did not go in any way that we wanted it to. The Rockets end up falling to the Warriors in really bad fashion, 95-85. Scoring 85 points in a playoff game against a team that is not known for its defense is one thing in and of itself. However, the way the Rockets played offensively, the way the game went, just makes it all the more concerning. 87 field goals put up, and you only hit 34 of them. You're shooting a 39% clip, and let's not even get started on the free throw percentage or the three-point percentage. Everything was just not good yesterday, and the bad part about it is this is looking like it could easily continue into Game 2, Game 3, and even if there is a Game 4 or 5, I mean, there's so many questions at this point. This was the concern we had with this team, and this was probably the worst case scenario we could have had in Game 1. Now, there is some positive signs. Alperen Şengün played well, but everything else is just so concerning. Let's first start here with a quote from head coach Ime Udoka after the game saying, quote, "Not our best offensive night by any means. Holding somebody to 95? You'd expect to win if you have a decent offensive night," end quote. Yeah, if you had a decent offensive night, you would expect to win. Unfortunately, the Rockets had about as worse of an offensive night as they've had in the past 3 months. I mean, since they started that winning streak, there's not been a night where it's been this bad with the starters and on the court. And in some ways, I question whether or not it was smart to sit everybody. And I know at the time it makes the right decision. Hindsight's 2020, but you're on such a big roll. You have those 2 games where you don't really play your starters that much. And while it's great to get them some rest and they deserved it, man, it's tough now to look back on that and say, okay, well, they were firing on all cylinders, offensively, defensively, you name it. And now all of a sudden in Game 1, they can't do anything on offense. Their defense was, I'm going to say, pretty good. I think that holding someone to 95 in the playoffs, especially when Steph Curry goes off for 30-plus points, is very nice. However, the point still stands that this team did not look good in yesterday's game. And yes, they had the little spurt. It was 64-41. They ended up coming back, only losing by 10. That's great. But the problem is you had like 40 flipping points with, I don't know, a quarter and a half to go. It was not a good offensive game. It just did not go well. And there's a few key stats that I would like to kind of take a peek at here. Obviously, the first one, the field goal percentage is not good. 39.1% is horrible. The three-point percentage being 20.7 is horrible. And there's one player I am going to talk about here that I think is for all to blame. Also, you are an NBA playoff team. You are an NBA team playing as the number 2 seed, and you shoot 55% from the free throw line? What are we doing? You turned the ball over 17 times. Now, thankfully, the Warriors turned it over 14 times, and you got just about as many points off turnovers as they did. But the point is still there. How does this happen to a team that was doing so amazing? And Ime Udoka, who we've talked about this entire time, when he has time to game plan for somebody, they usually win. And now we're sitting here. He had so much time, a couple of days to plan for the Warriors. In fact, he knew it was going to the Warriors or the Grizzlies, and yet at the same time, our offense couldn't do anything. Against a Warriors defense who I'm going to say is not anything to be like threatened with. I know Draymond's a great defender. A little bit of a piece of crap too, but besides the point, it just doesn't make sense. And then now I want to look at the game stats here because there's a few key players. Fred VanVleet, the quote-unquote veteran leader of this team. What in the world are we doing going 2 for 13 from behind the arch when I know dang well there was so many of those were wide open looks and he couldn't hit really any of them? 2 for 13. Are you kidding me? If you're not hitting shots, don't take them anymore. I know they're wide open, but good grief. That's incredibly bad. Him and Jalen Green, who, again, I love Jalen Green. I think this was an off night for him, and it sucks, and I'm going to go in on him here in a second. But he can't have a 7-point night. Especially when we've been talking about how Jalen Green is the leader of the offense, or the leader of this, and he wants to be the leader. I love that. I want him to be that. And I still am thinking he is going to be that. I know he'll have a bounce-back game. But this was terrible. Downright terrible. And if you look at their stats over the year, you don't expect this. 21 points per game. He scores 7 against the Warriors defense. It's just not great. 3.4 assists, obviously. He has great stats across the board, and it just wasn't good. I don't really know what to say. Jabari Smith Jr. off the bench had more points than Fred VanVleet and Jalen Green. In fact, he was 6 points away from having more than both of them combined off the dang bench. Now, I'm not going to sit here and be mad at Tari Eason just because he came off the bench. I understand. He didn't have a good game either. 0 for 4 from behind the arc and 3 for 10 from the field goal from field. It's just not good. But I'm not expecting that of him in some ways. I know he has the good games, and I expect him to have a good game. I think this series will go the distance. I think it will go all the way. But this was just not a good performance whatsoever. I mean, you look at the stat sheet, and you're like, okay, it's Alperen Şengün and an AAU offense behind him. I mean, Amen Thompson, how many times have we talked about him? Now, he was more of a defensive factor, but the plus minuses, I want you to look at that real quick because that is such a telling sign. When Amen Thompson was on the court, the Rockets were minus 16. When Dillon Brooks was on the floor, the Rockets were minus 13. This is just not good. And looking forward, forget the game, forget this one. This does not look like a team that is ready to go and play in the Western Conference Finals, much less play in the playoffs right now. 85 freaking points? Are you kidding me? What are we doing? Listen, I'm all for loving this team, and they're way ahead of schedule, and I think they're going to be fine. However, this game scares me to no extent for the future of this playoff series. Because we know the Warriors have caused so much trouble for us in the playoffs in the past. So much trouble. Steph Curry, again, goes off. You can't control that. You can, but the shots he was putting up last night, that's just the way it's going to happen. I'm not going to sit here and say, oh, yeah, Steph Curry is, we should have done better. They were putting up really good defense. He was just hitting shots. It was just one of those Steph nights, which kind of sucks because the last time we played him, he only had 9 points. So in some way, I'm sure I'll say, oh, that was the game where everybody, counted me out. I got to go out here and have a good game. And so you have Steph Curry go off, and then Fred VanVleet, who is supposed to be our leader, scores 10 points. I know he's averaging 14, so it's not like he's, that below his average. But the big thing that I see, his 3-point percentage on the year is .345. He went 2 for however many, 13, whatever it was. I mean, goodness. This is changing the outlook of the offseason if this game and this series continues. If Jalen Green can't do anything, who's to say he's not going to get traded after all this? If Fred VanVleet can't do anything, the Rockets aren't going to want to sign him back. I know the season was great. I get that. And I'm not trying to sit here and harp on this bad game because there are some positives. But this is just not the good sign we wanted. This is not the team that I remember watching 2 weeks ago on their win streak. Heck, a week ago before they pulled the starters off. I don't get it. I really don't get it. I sit here and thank God for Alperen Şengün and the way that he has played and continued to play. And I sit here and now think that, as much as I love Jalen Green, I think Alperen is the guy you turn to lead this team the rest of the series. He had fire, which I didn't see from a lot of players last night. He was shooting the ball well. He put up the dunk, obviously, that kind of got the crowd going early in the game. Now, obviously, that was, 4 points early. That was the biggest lead we had basically all night. this team was Alperen Şengün and a bunch of scrubs last night, and there's no way else to put it. The only guy who had a positive plus-minus was Steven Adams, which he played for 20 minutes and was +4. Great. Cool, that doesn't mean anything. We still lost by 10. It just cannot happen like this. And I understand we're young, and I understand that this is a learning series in a lot of ways. But I want to learn by winning. I don't want to learn losing. That's the worst way to learn. And listen, I've seen the comments, saying, "Oh, we're not going to trade for KD. I don't want to trade for KD." I'm kind of right there with you. I don't think the Rockets need Kevin Durant. However, if you lose this series and you keep playing the way like you just played, there are going to have to be changes made. Whether that's trading for Kevin Durant, whether that's trading away some of your stars to get made veterans. This cannot continue. It cannot. That's just the point-blank thing right there is this cannot continue, and I am very concerned about the way that this game went and the way that we looked. As a team, our energy, and most importantly, our offense did not look good against a defense that I do not consider top tier. Draymond Green is great. Everybody else, sure, they're okay. I just don't get it. But we get another game on Wednesday. Come out, play well, and put this behind us. Put this game behind us. And in some ways, you got to think Ted Lasso be a memory of a goldfish right now and forget that game even happened. Alperen Şengün can remember it. Every other player, put that game out of mind. Do not think about it. Do not mention it. Go out there, play offense. The defense was great. Keep that going. Play better offense. We need a better plus-minus from everybody. And I'm looking at Amon Thompson. I'm looking at Fred VanVleet, and I'm looking at Jalen Green. Y'all have got to step up. I know Jalen and Amon, you're young. You got to do better, though. You got to. I appreciate y'all joining us here on Rockets Digest, and that does it for now. We'll hopefully get a win Wednesday, but for now, we'll see you next time here. Peace out.